You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Mississippi. So, Nora.
Yes, Lauren.
Let's get scary.
Yay!
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
We are back.
We're here. Craziness. We're both busy, but we made it. We met up, and we are recording Mississippi.
Have you ever heard when you were younger how to spell Mississippi?
Yes, oh my God, I was going to say, one of my biggest flexes as a kid was being able to spell it.
Did you do the M-I crooked letter I thing?
No.
Oh my gosh, there was the M-I crooked letter I, crooked letter I, humpback I, for the S's and the P's.
You beg my pardon?
You've never heard that?
No.
Oh my gosh. How many people know that? If you've heard about that, let me know. Because now Nora's looking at me and I feel like
I don't know what you just said to me.
Knows this.
I said I just memorized it.
Oh, you were just cool enough.
MISSIPPI.
You were just cool
super
enough
fast.
that you knew
Exactly. I didn't need squiggle, dot, circle, whatever you said. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
That was a big thing. It was so fun to say.
Wow. That is a pretty cool flex, remembering that squiggle.
You're the worst.
All right. So Mississippi, nicknamed the Magnolia State, joined the Union on December 10th, 1817, and became the 20th state. Mississippi got its unique name from the Mississippi River that runs along and forms its what?
You're like, from the Mississippi River.
So Mississippi got its unique name from the Mississippi River that runs along and forms its western border. And the Mississippi River literally goes through the entire U.S., which is so wild.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. I think I talked about it before because I was looking at a map and I was like, what? Weird laws in Mississippi. In one Mississippi town, by law, in order to prove himself manly before marriage, the groom must go hunting and kill either 6 blackbirds or 3 crows. Wow.
Joe did not do that.
I was like, I think that would scare me away if someone's killing animals for me. Polygamy is already illegal, but in Mississippi, it is illegal to explain it to someone.
Huh.
Polygamy is accepted now. Isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, that's polyrelationships.
Polyamory.
Oh my God, I can't keep up.
Polyamory is, I think, when you just open love, free love kind of thing.
Yeah.
But polygamy is the marrying of more than one person.
Oh, like that show, Sister Wives.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm low-key actually so invested in that show.
Really?
It's so interesting.
Oh, I've never seen that. You can't marry more than one person at a time. Like we talked about in our Missouri episode, where he wanted to marry, my case, where he wanted to marry the new person but couldn't until his wife was proven dead.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Which is just
horrible.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Gosh. Using profane language in Mississippi could result in a fine of up to $100. I feel like I've heard a law like that before.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. It's also illegal to live with your significant other if you aren't married. We would both be in jail.
Nora.
I know.
I'm married now.
You wouldn't now. In Temperance, Mississippi, it is illegal to walk your dog without it wearing a diaper.
Before my little puppy was fixed, we got her when I don't know what happened, but anyway, she would get periods for a little bit, and so we would literally put a diaper on her. It was so cute.
Yeah, because they have to wait sometimes depending on the vet. So yeah, that's scary.
I know.
A burial site was found on the campus of the University of Mississippi, which contained over 1,000 bodies. I wonder if that was the war.
Oh.
You know?
Oh, I don't know.
What's it called? Civil War. Sorry. Civil War.
One of those wars.
War. You know how Theodore Roosevelt is known as Teddy? Well, he coined that nickname when he was on a hunting trip in Mississippi and refused to kill a bear. Oh, that's cute.
I know. So he's the teddy bear.
Yeah. Ole Miss is said to be home to an ancient biblical manuscript, which is said to be the oldest in America.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Mississippi gets an average of 27 tornadoes a year.
Oh my gosh. I was talking to this girl, and she lived in one of those southern states, and she said that, her family would do tornado drills, just, running down into the cellar and practicing doing that. And she's like, it was a completely normal thing for us to do.
We did that.
Running down into a cellar?
Oh, not a
home.
cellar. It was elementary school.
Well, we did them at school, but she did them with her family, in the middle of the night, wake up, practice, if there was a tornado coming.
Huh.
That's
scary.
terrifying.
That's really, and it's crazy that they have cellars because of that. They were probably built in that area.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
You would think that's more of a Kansas thing, but I guess it's the same area.
Yeah, it's like a Tornado Alley or something.
Hundreds of UFO sightings have occurred in Vicksburg, so if you want to see a UFO, this is where you should go. Alice from Alice in Wonderland is an actual girl named Alice Little.
Liddell, I think. I think it's Liddell.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, let me see. I think it's Little.
Oh.
Yeah.
Eric Little.
Interesting.
Okay. Whatever. We'll go with Lidl. No, I'm just kidding. She lived in Oxford, Mississippi with her father. Her father had a friend named Charles Dodgson, who may be better known as Lewis Carroll.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Isn't that so cool?
Yeah. That's really cool. Mississippi has one unidentified serial killer. All right. So, Lauren, what are you going to talk about today?
Okay, so today I found a lot of really cool and really spooky urban legends and all this like really cool stuff that I wanted to cover, but unfortunately, a lot of the things didn't have enough information to do like a full episode. So I was like, okay, how can I make this work? Because there were two things that I really, really wanted to talk about, and I was like, well, they're so short, we'll never get around to them being a full like episode. So I was like, okay, so what do they have in common? And I found out that an urban legend, an unexplained situation, and a haunted location are all in the same area.
Ooh.
Pascagoula. And I know that's pronounced right because I looked it up because it's a very weird word.
It sounds like pass the goulash.
A little bit. And then in Halloween, I read they call it Pascagoula.
Ooh.
And I was
Oh,
like,
that's
yeah.
funny. I love that.
I was like,
that's
how
so
clever.
funny.
So Pascagoula is located in Jackson County and has a population of about 22,392 based on the 2010 census. Its estimated population for 2019 was suspected to be 21,699, so down a little from 2010, which is very weird because usually places build up and not down.
Yeah.
Pascagoula actually gets its name from the Pascagoula tribe, which means bread eater.
That's me.
So Joe's doing gluten-free.
Uh-huh.
Which is really sad. But we ordered food the other day and it came with bread, and he just was like, oh, they brought us bread. So I ate the bread and he didn't eat any of the bread.
Just to clarify, like, Joe is actually allergic to gluten.
He has celiac, so he
Yeah.
like legit cannot eat it.
Yeah.
Which is really sad for me because it limits my gluten.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we were in the car yesterday and I saw a bumper sticker that said, I love gluten.
Oh.
I know. I was
Irony.
like, I feel ya.
Yeah.
So the Pascagoula language is undocumented, so many affiliations and translations are actually just speculations. The downtown area of Mississippi had originally been named Scranton, shout out to the office,
Love it.
but in 1912, the two towns merged and became Pascagoula. So back in 2010, Hurricane Katrina really hit this town, and about 92% of the town was flooded. Homes were destroyed, people lost their homes, and we were just talking about Hurricane Katrina recently, weren't we?
I feel like we were, but I can't remember.
I can't remember why either.
Yeah.
The post office in town contains a mural titled Legend of the Singing River, which was painted by Lauren Thompson in 1939. Lorin. So the male version
I was gonna
of my
say.
name.
Okay.
Yeah, like the male spelling of it or the other way to spell my name.
Yeah.
So this building was damaged by Hurricane Katrina, but the mural was saved and placed in storage. In 2010, it was reinstated at the new reinstalled at the new post office building on Jackson Avenue. So there are two famous people who are both from Pascagoula, Jimmy Buffett and Channing Tatum.
What?
Yeah. And Jimmy Buffett actually wrote a song called The Pascagoula Run. So now on to the weirder and scarier things in this town. So first I'm going to talk about the Singing River. So the Pascagoula River is actually the largest undammed river in the U.S.
Well, I'll be damned. Sorry.
That was a good one. It is called the Singing River because of the mysterious music that seems to be coming from the water. Usually, the music is heard during the late summer and early fall in the evenings and is said to sound like a swarm of bees, but I guess a melodious swarm of bees. The music will typically start out faint and barely audible, but it slowly starts to grow louder and nearer as if it's, quote, directly underfoot, which I guess means just really close to you. I've never heard that word before.
Yeah. Oh, I guess
phrase.
that makes sense.
Yeah, you know.
That's like, kind of brings me to like square dancing, like under my foot. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Okay, never mind.
No one is able to come up with a reason or a scientific explanation for why, how, or where this music comes from. On July 24th, 1892, Catherine Cole wrote in the New Orleans Times-Picayune about the river, quote, "Visitors come from all along the coast to sit on the rough, tumultuous roots of the oaks that lean over the river and listen to the flute-like sounds that are rubbed off from the river as a deft hand brushes melody from the rim of a crystal goblet." End quote. Charles R. Chidsey lived in this area of the river in the late 19th or early 20th century, and he heard the music often. He was able to reduce the sound of the river into music as a long F note.
Huh.
Yeah. He also believes that music from the river comes from the fish. Charles Darwin once wrote in his book, Descent of Man, that he had heard fish produce, quote, various noises, some of which are described as being musical. But this theory has never been proven.
Yeah.
So it could just be fish singing. I don't know.
I don't know.
French settlers have even written reports of the singing river dating back to 1699. But there is a legend that explains it, and that legend tells of the mysterious extinction of the Peskagula Indians. So during this time, there were two main tribes in the area, the Biloxi tribe and the Pascagoula tribe, and the two were enemies. But Chief Altama of the Pascagoula tribe was in love with Enola. Some sources say her name was actually Miona, and she was the princess of the Biloxi tribe. They weren't allowed to have any type of relationship as it was strictly forbidden. Also, Enola was supposed to marry the warrior Ontonga, but she wasn't in love with him. Well, Chief Altama and Prince Enola were having none of this, so she ran away with Chief Altama and his tribe. Well, this enraged her tribe, and they waged war on the Pascagoula tribe. Well, the Pascagoula tribe was significantly smaller than the other tribes, so they were greatly outnumbered. They knew they would lose, and that would lead to enslavement and or death. Knowing there was no way they would win, the Pascagoula tribe joined hands and began chanting a song of death. As they all slowly walked into the river, their song was cut off as the water engulfed all of the tribe.
What? That's like Romeo and Juliet, kind of.
Yeah.
Like the same sort of thing.
So they just
killed themselves? Wow.
so that they wouldn't be enslaved.
That is so sad.
I know. So another tale comes from historian Charles Gayer back in 1727, who believed that the sounds come from ghosts. So his story goes, there was a peaceful tribe that lived along the banks of the river. They were worshippers of an idol that was carved into the shape of a mermaid. And as part of their ceremonies, they would sing and play instruments at night on the banks of this river. But around 1539 to 1540, the Hernando de Soto expedition was occurring, and this brought a Catholic missionary to the tribe's village. The tribe and the missionary formed a friendly relationship. But the mermaid, who the idol honored, was jealous of this new friendship that her followers had formed. So this was an interesting quote. So about what happened. So quote, one night when the moon at her zenith poured on heaven and earth with more profusion than usual, a flood of light angelic at the solemn hour of 12, when all in nature was repose and silence, there came on a sudden a rushing on the surface of the river, as if the still air had been flapped into a whirlwind by myriads of invisible wings sweeping onward.
Jeez.
So pretty much that means that there was a huge, like the water was forming itself into a huge foaming thing with all these waves, and on top of that stood a mermaid. So the tribe and the missionary couldn't help but look on as the mermaid began to sing, come to me, children of the sea, neither bell, book, nor cross shall win ye from your queen. With that, one tribe member ran to and plunged into the river. He was quickly followed by all the men, women, and children of the tribe. All ran into the river with the same irresistible impulse. When the last person disappeared into the river, it was said that a wild laugh was heard. Gayer said that this is when the music started, and that other tribes in the area believed that the Pascagoula tribe still play their music at the bottom of the river in the Palace of the Mermaid.
Wow.
So both of these stories involve the tribes going into the water willingly, which is exactly what Lauren Thompson's mural depicts. So it shows just all these tribe people chilling on the river, like on the banks, going into the water together. It's like odd.
That is
odd. It's
odd.
really nice, but it's like just a very interesting story behind it.
Yeah,
just
it's a little eerie.
Yes, like how calm they all look going into the water.
Yeah.
So at one point, 3 different recording companies tried to claim rights to the music coming from the water, wanting to record the sounds. But it's unknown if that was ever like actually happening or if it was successful at all.
It's nature. How can
Right?
you record or get the rights to that?
Right. So it is known that some people will wait decades before they hear the river sing to them. So some people hear it, some people just never do. In 1985, a stretch of the Pascagoula River was formally renamed the Singing River.
Wow, that's cool.
So that is the Singing River in Mississippi.
I want to go there.
So I have another. This is a truly hair-raising tale. It'll make sense.
I don't get it yet, but I'm sure I'll love it very soon.
So World War II was in full swing, and fear and paranoia were high throughout the nation. To add to that fear and paranoia, in the summer of 1942, Pascagoula was plagued by a mysterious event. Several home invasions were taking place throughout the town. The culprit would sneak into the victim's house after nightfall, and while they were sleeping, he would take his scissors, creep over to the victim's head, and cut off a lock of their hair. He would steal a lock of their
Like a
hair
fetish.
and literally nothing else.
What?
The mystery person was soon named the Phantom Barber.
Wow.
So the first account of this Phantom Barber occurred on June 5th, 1942. Mary Evelyn Briggs and Edna Marie Heidel were both at the Our Lady of Victory's convent. That night, the two girls were shocked and scared when they saw a man climbing out of their room through their window. Mary woke up while the man was in her room, leaning over her with something shiny in his hand. He looked at her, put his finger up to his mouth, and went, shh, before fleeing into the night. Both women were unharmed, but both noticed that they were missing a lock of hair. Mary Evelyn Briggs described the man as, quote, sort of short, sort of fat, and he was wearing a white sweatshirt. The following Monday, the barber struck again. He cut a slit in the screen of a window to the Piatti's house. He crawled into the window where little 6-year-old Carol was asleep next to her twin brother David. The barber snipped the hair, then crawled back out of the window back into the night.
Ew, it's like a peeping Tom, but like
it's so creepy.
Actually invading your home.
But this time, he left a sandy footprint near the window.
Ooh.
But back in 42, they didn't really do anything about that.
Yeah, they're like, look at that footprint.
Yeah, clean it up.
He has a big foot.
The next incident of the Phantom Barber occurred 4 days later on Friday. The barber chose the house of Mr. and Miss Heidelberg. He entered the same way by cutting the window screen and crawling in, which is the worst description for something, crawling in. I hate when people crawl. But instead of doing his telltale snipping of hair, he took a heavy iron bar and attacked the couple with it. He knocked out Miss Heidelberg's front teeth and actually knocked Mr. Heidelberg unconscious.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Thankfully, the two survived, but because of how quickly the attack happened, neither victim was able to describe their attacker. 6 men in Pascagoula were deputized, meaning they were made deputies, and bloodhounds were brought in to try to pick up a scent. The bloodhounds found a scent and ran the men to some nearby woods, where they found a pair of blood-stained gloves, but unfortunately, that's all they found. For some reason, the police believed that the assailant had to have been on a bike to make his escape, but must have stashed it in the woods. Not sure where they came up with this conclusion, not sure why they thought that, but that's what they thought. The final attack occurred a couple nights later on Sunday. Miss R.R. Taylor woke up from sleep and got violently ill. She then realized her hair had been cut. She recalls that she had been woken up when, quote, something with a sickening smell passed over her nose. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that he smells really, really bad, and he smelled so bad that he made her wake up and get sick. Is that it?
No, but you'll see. Her house was inspected, and it was discovered that her window screen had also been cut. The police determined that the barber cut the window screen, put a chloroform rag over Taylor's face, and that's when she was unconscious.
Wow.
Then he took her hair. She was especially mad about this because she had just gotten a perm. I mean, girl, I feel
I was gonna say, I get it.
Like if 2 inches.
Yeah. Could you imagine? And it's like that one straight, like that one section that probably looks so jacked up because of the perm, you know?
And I can tell you, when you have curly hair, if one thing is different, it's gonna, I understand.
I would be mad.
So local news outlets were the one who gave this perpetrator the nickname of the Phantom Barber, but thankfully the police took these crimes very seriously. An article in the New Statesman went into detail about the hair trade, which was apparently a big thing starting in the 1840s. So girls would be kidnapped and pretty much sheared like sheep for their hair. So like they would take a girl, have her grow her hair, and keep cutting it every time her hair grew.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Hospitals at the time would also shave patients' heads for extra income. Human hair can be used in many different ways. It can strengthen mud and dung walls. It can be used in Irish vegetable gardens. Mixed with other substances, it can be used to help repel snails. It just apparently has a ton of different uses.
Also, wigs are really expensive.
Yes.
So maybe they used it for that.
I don't know. But the New Statesman article even stated that when immigrants were coming to the U.S., some would actually be barred from Ellis Island if they claimed that they were hair dealers. Once they were finally allowed in, there soon was a booming hair industry in New York City, which is just very interesting.
That's so interesting.
The police believed that the same person committed all of the crimes and that at least 10 homes were hit, though only 4 were actually reported on. There was also...
How are only 4?
Those
That's
are the
crazy.
only 4 stories I could find.
Gosh.
And when I tell you, I looked at every page of Google. So there was also a reward of $300 being offered for any information that might lead to the capture of this barber. In today's money, that would be about $1,526. So kind of not a horrible amount.
Yeah.
People in Pascagoula were living in fear of this Phantom Barber. One resident, Sandra Moncrief, who was a young child at the time, said, quote, "My dad worked at the shipyard and he made this big old iron billy stick, and they would take turns sitting up around the clock because the story was the Phantom Barber was cutting the hair off of blonde children, and I had blonde hair." That's just terrifying.
Wow.
So many factory workers stopped working the night shift because they wanted to be home to protect their families. So this started to affect the production of all the war efforts because this was a big town where they were building like ships and doing a lot of stuff for the war that was happening. And so with people not working night shifts, they weren't able to work on any of the war stuff. So it was really impacting the production.
Jeez.
Yeah. So Police Chief A.W. Easel, who was the lead on this case, enlisted the help of a detective with the Pinkerton agency, Miras Tally. Finally, 2 months after this final attack in the fall, police announced that they had arrested 57-year-old chemist William Dolan. Dolan had received his education in Germany and was thought to be a Nazi sympathizer.
That's why he was stealing blonde hair?
I don't know.
You know, like they're obsessed with like the pure white blonde.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Good connection.
Ugh.
Dolan had previously lived in New Orleans, where he had owned a pharmacy, but he eventually sold it, and he and his wife moved to Pascagoula. Chief Easel and Detective Tally said that Dolan had a coast-to-coast record of charges, so he wasn't a clean dude. And before the first attack in June, Dolan had actually been arrested on charges of trespassing. He had been taken to trial previously for his trespassing charges, and the judge proceeding over the case refused to lower his bail.
Good.
But a weird note, the judge's son and daughter-in-law happened to be the Heidelbergs, the ones who had been brutally beaten. So many believe that this could have been a motive for the attack. Police also stated that a bundle of hair had been found behind Dolan's home. Later, it was ID'd that the hair belonged to Carol, the youngest victim of the haircutting. Police also said that they were able to place Dolan at the scene of some of the crimes, especially the assault. One witness claimed that Dolan had actually asked him for a ride the night of the attack, and he had dropped Dolan off not far from the Heidelbergs' home. An hour later, Dolan returned to that neighbor and told him that some trouble had occurred. Then another witness claimed that he had actually seen Dolan coming out of their house that night. Dolan obviously denied that he was the intruder, but that didn't convince anyone. He was ultimately charged of the attempted murder of the Heidelbergs and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Easel and Tally believe that he committed the crimes to, quote, impair the morale of war workers, because remember how I said it was believed he was a Nazi sympathizer during World War II? He wanted to scare locals and weaken their morale. Pascagoula was a shipping town and had many shipyards and manufacturing plants that were used for military production during the war. So Pascagoula was pretty much a valuable military target. So scaring people into staying home made the area less productive.
Oh my god.
And apparently there were witnesses who said Dolan had made positive statements and remarks about Hitler and the Nazis. Subsequently, though, after his arrest, there were no Phantom Barber attacks. Many believe that he was definitely responsible for the attack, but many think that he was just used as a scapegoat for the Phantom Barber crimes. He remained in prison for 6 years until Fielding Wright, Mississippi's governor, reviewed the case and asked Dolan to take a lie detector test. Dolan ended up passing the test and was given a limited suspended sentence. He was released from jail and set free in 1951.
Wow.
When did the war end?
1945.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah. So to this day, because, he would have spent 6 years there, so it would have started in 45. So to this day, people still can't exactly pinpoint who or what this Phantom Barber is. Some believe that it's an actual person like Dolan, though he was cleared of this charge. Others believe the barber is an extraterrestrial, and others just believe it was a product of mass hysteria. The mass hysteria due to German phobia at the time of the war and Dolan having been from Germany.
Yeah, but it stopped while he was in prison.
Apparently.
Unless people made it up or something, you know?
Yeah, but there's a picture of the two girls, Mary and Edna. There's a picture of the two of them, like, they're kind of laughing, looking at their hair, like...
Oh, what the heck?
I mean, at least they have good spirits about it. So then the last thing I'm going to talk about in this little town is the Longfellow House. So facing the Gulf of Mexico, on the east end of Buffett Beach sits the Longfellow House. Also known as Bellevue, which is French for beautiful. This house is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and was built around 1850 in the Greek Revival structure by Daniel Graham. Daniel Graham was a wealthy but cruel slave trader. It's also said that he was a pirate, and his pirating proclivities required a place for him to hide his treasure. So holes had been dug and walls had been demolished, but no such treasure has been found. So the Longfellow House is 9,000 square feet and has 3 floors. It also has a self-supporting winding staircase that leads up to the 3rd floor of the house, which is so pretty. In all of its time standing, the Longfellow House hasn't had many occupants. After Daniel Graham, it sat empty for many years, probably what prompted locals to think that it was haunted.
Mm-hmm.
It's believed that from 1873 to 1902, it changed hands about 9 times. One of those times it was believed to be a girls' school. In 1902, W.A. Pollock took ownership for 36 years. Then the former mayor, Frank Canty, lived there for just a few years before selling it to Ingalls Shipbuilding Corporation in the 1940s, around the time of the war. Ingalls is the one who actually converted it into a resort. So the resort included cottages, elegant dining rooms, a golf course, clay tennis courts, and a majestic swimming pool. As the resort closed, the house fell into disrepair until Dick and Diane Scruggs bought it in 1993 and restored it to its original glory. They then donated it to the University of Mississippi, who used it as a special occasion venue. Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, which is when the University of Mississippi sold it to their current family living there, Randy and Tracy Roth, and their 6 children.
Jeez.
The Longfellow House seemed to be very important to the city and a main centerpiece. The Roths said that very often someone would stop by the house to tell the family what the house used to be. They would also drop off ashtrays and old menus that had belonged to the resort, which is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Randy Roth had said, quote, "Longfellow House means a lot to the city. People tell us they like seeing a swing hanging on a tree and children playing in the yard. They have thanked us for living here." Which is kind of cute.
Yeah.
But of course, the house is said to be haunted.
Of course.
Stories include a baby who fell from the 3rd floor window and bloodstained floors, which are said to have been due to Graham. The Roths say that they have never seen any bloodstains around the house, but they did admit that there have been many renovations over the years, and throughout those renovations, the stains could have been removed. So Graham, our original owner, was known to brutally abuse and murder slaves in this home, and the home is said to be haunted by the former slaves. The mistress of the house was even worse, and was just as cruel, and would beat the slaves to near death. Some even succumbed to their wounds. People have reported hearing things move in the house, doors being slammed, themselves being pushed, and items being thrown around. Cindy Fortenberry was the house's manager in 1991 and said that they call the spirit George and that he lives on the 3rd floor. The story goes that George worked in the house and was treated horribly. He was beaten almost to death by the mistress and was sent out into the woods to die. After he died, he came back to the house to haunt her. Slaves who lived in the house after George have said to hear him bumping around the house. Other accounts claim that George isn't alone.
Oh, no.
This name is great. Bobby Slaughter.
Ooh.
That's this lady's name.
Yeah.
She was a night auditor at the Longfellow House when it was operating as a hotel in the 80s, and she had a few experiences. So Slaughter didn't know about any of the stories before working at the Longfellow House or the history of it being haunted, but stated that after starting and experiencing everything, she quickly became a believer. So she said that the house always had a depressing feel to it. She said that one night she was in a room alone and she was literally slapped in the face.
Oh my gosh.
I know. At first, she was furious with her coworker, thinking it had been her, but her coworker was in a different room. The slap was so hard that it made a sound that her coworker could hear, and it legit left a handprint on her face. So Slaughter said it was very scary.
Oh my gosh.
Another time, a worker was showing a couple a room and was either tripped or pulled down by an unseen force. Slaughter said there are unusual noises and strange occurrences that happen at night. At 3 a.m, of course, a jukebox would start playing and would turn off at 5 a.m. They would hear babies crying, cafe doors opening and closing, and toilets flushing. Slaughter also said that sometimes it would sound like a party was going on upstairs. They would hear talking and ice clinking in glasses, but the moment they would step upstairs, all noises would stop.
Oh boy.
Slaughter also said that once she was walking through the hotel, she smelt the strong odor of whiskey. Another time, she was smoking and heard a noise in another room. She put her cigarette down to go investigate the noise, but when she returned, her cigarette was gone. She looked all over the area for it and couldn't find it. Well, later that day, she found it in a different room, a room that she hadn't been in at all that day.
Oh my gosh.
Slaughter once said, quote, "We can't keep glasses in the bar. They would just burst. There was a huge door going into the bar that was pulled off its hinges. I was there the whole time and I don't know how it happened."
Ew.
I know. I hate it. So workers as well as guests have reported seeing shadows darting across hallways and rooms. Some hotel guests would actually get so frightened that they would just up and leave the hotel.
That would be me.
Yeah. Me too. Psychics have also visited the hotel to see if they could talk to who or what was haunting the space. And I don't know why I could not spell psychic this morning. I spelled it like 14 different ways and I was getting so annoyed. So I went to Google to type it in and then I typed it in normally. And I was like, what is going on?
You overthought it.
I know. It was bad. So most have said that the feelings in the house have something to do with poltergeists, that whatever was in the house wasn't evil, but it was mean. And it was either 3 different ghosts or one ghost going through 3 different stages in life, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really cool way to think about it.
That is.
So Slaughter said that once the hotel closed and workers weren't constantly in and out of the building, the spirits were able to settle down a little bit. Because contractors have also said that they have heard doors slam when there is no wind, creaky noises, and, quote, just haunted house stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So those are the unexplained, odd, and haunting things in Pascagoula, Mississippi.
Wow, that's creepy. And also really interesting.
Yeah, so I really wanted to cover the Phantom Barber, but like I said, there was just not enough information to do a whole episode. And then I found the Singing River, and I was like, wait, this is cool too. And then I found the Longfellow House, and I was like, you know what? We're just going to throw them all together, and we'll just cover this little town.
Yeah, the barber one definitely did make
Isn't
my
that
hairs
weird?
raise on my arms.
Yeah, right, a hair raising tail.
Yeah, right? I know, love it.
All right, what are you telling us?
Okay, so first of all, shout out to apnews.com and journalist Jerry Mitchell, who did an awesome story on this. And as always, the sources will be linked in our show notes, but I had to give them a shout out because their article was so good. But so around 2013, I could not find the exact date, but the article by AP was done in 2018. So I think it was like just a few years before that. A woman named Stacy Humphreys and her husband Jimmy were looking to move from their home in Arizona to Missouri. But this isn't our Missouri episode. That was last week. So spoiler alert, that's not where they end up moving.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet I can guess where they go.
Where? But they initially had their eyes on Missouri because of the history there. According to Stacy, quote, they had a great little historic area. We were looking to buy a Victorian home.
Oh, I love Victorian houses.
I know. There's so many in like downtown Pittsburgh area.
They're just so pretty.
Yeah. So Stacy did what most people do to find houses these days. So that's why I know it was pretty recent too. I like literally could not find the date anywhere. It drove me crazy. But she did online searches on Facebook for houses for sale in Missouri.
Okay.
And because the internet stalks us and steals our information, she started getting ads for houses in other places, not just Missouri.
Wait, can I tell you something super creepy?
What?
If you look at your phone in the top right corner, if the light is ever green, that means it's using your, I think it's like one of them is one thing, but if it's green, it's using like your voice. So when you're talking to it, and if it's orange, it's using your camera.
Oh my gosh.
So that could be switched, but it's super creepy. So next time you're on the phone, look up in the top right corner and you'll see it's using your microphone.
Huh.
So anytime you get that random light up there,
Yeah.
either green or orange, I can't remember, one means it's like using your microphone and one means it's using your like camera.
That's really good to know.
Really creepy.
Do you guys have Alexa?
Yes, but she's not plugged in right now.
Okay. Do you do that on purpose?
I do it when I need to charge my computer and then I forget.
Okay, I was going to say, like, Alexa, she'll be lit. Like, me and Ian will be having a conversation and she'll be lit up. And then we realize she's listening to us. And Ian goes, Alexa, stop listening. And then she turns off. But she literally listens to us.
Ew, there was a couple that did a test once and they don't have a cat. And they just kept saying, like, cat, food, cat litter. And then they started to get ads on their computer about cat litter.
That's so creepy. That's so not good. Okay, so basically Facebook was like, we're just going to start sending her ads for other places because I think she was looking for that style of home.
I hate that.
I know. So Facebook posted an ad for an 1800s home in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Stacy did her best to ignore the ad because she really had her heart set on Missouri. So she took a break from looking at homes and then went back on Facebook a short while later and saw that same ad again for the 1800s home in Holly Springs. She started reading a little more about the home and she found that it was called Linden Hill because it was flanked by 2 giant linden trees and it was built in Greek Revival style in 1841, just like the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the first time I've ever heard of that style.
Same.
And we both have that.
Oh,
and
that's weird.
That's so interesting.
And we both talked about something in Missouri or Mississippi. Just so crazy.
I know, right? What are the odds? The home was only $65,000 and was a mansion.
What?
Yeah, it was a nice house.
You can't even rent an apartment here for that.
I know.
Wow.
And like, I know the South tends to have like a little bit more affordable housing, but even there, that's like dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So to make
that
the
would
stars,
be my first little.
I know, right? To make the stars even more aligned, there was a home for sale just down the street too that was perfect for Stacy's mom to live in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. On the bottom of the ad for Linden Hill, there was a comment from a woman named Charlotte Nairmore, and it said, quote, beautiful home, but it does have a living ghost who we all fondly call Beulah, end quote.
Okay.
So Stacy and Jimmy read this comment, and they laughed at the idea of the house having a ghost named Beulah.
Would you move into a house if it said there was a resident ghost?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't think I would either.
Especially if it's $65,000, like something's wrong here. But I mean, to each their own.
Yeah.
They definitely did not believe in the stories, but Stacy and Jimmy definitely won't be laughing forever. So they went through with purchasing Linden Hill, and they made the move to Mississippi. And I literally wrote here 65,000, and you see that comment, red flags, red flags.
Yes.
So now let me tell you about the history of Linden Hill. So as I said, the home was built in 1841. A woman named Beulah Cawthorn and her family lived at Linden Hill in the early 1900s, so like 60 or so years after it was built.
Mm-hmm.
By the time she was 25, Beulah had begun to suffer from mental health problems.
Oh.
I know. Then in 1919, her family committed her to the Mississippi State Insane Asylum in Jackson, Mississippi, which is about 3 hours from Holly Springs. And it's where the University of Mississippi Medical Center is now located.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for those little click-clackins. That's Roy's little toes on the teeny wood part that we have of our house.
Beulah was diagnosed as suffering from circular manic depression, which is now known as bipolar disorder.
Oh.
And it just wasn't there was no term for it yet.
Yeah.
And it's where people swing from the highs of euphoria to the lows of depression, sometimes leading to suicidal thoughts. A few months after she arrived to the asylum, she started showing improvements, so she returned home. Charlotte Nairmore, who left the comment online about Linden Hill and the ghost, later shared that she actually grew up in that home.
I swear, he only drinks water when we are recording. He'll drink water normally, but it's like, I guess when we're recording, he's like, now is just the perfect time.
The excitement of us talking just makes his mouth dry. She was told growing up that Beulah's parents woke up at midnight and Beulah was standing over their bed holding a hatchet. So they immediately shipped her off back to the insane asylum because they didn't know what to do. Like, there was no mental health services at the time. Beulah was eventually transferred to the East Mississippi State Hospital, where she died in 1968, which would have made her about 76 years old. The most heartbreaking part of this is that in 1970, so 2 years after she died, the Food and Drug Administration approved the drug lithium to treat bipolar disorder.
Oh.
Isn't that sad?
That is sad.
I mean, it's happy that it was invented.
It's good that it was invented.
Exactly.
But the timeline is sad.
And yeah, exactly. This medication, which could have helped Beulah live a normal life, was too late for her. After her death, Beulah's brother had her body returned to Holly Springs, which was nice of him.
Yeah.
But also sad because, like, her family would never, ever visit her. So it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
And she was buried with her family members in the cemetery known as the Little Arlington of the South. So I think last week we talked about how, like, there's a lot of Lynchburgs or something.
Yeah.
That's same with Arlington.
Yeah.
There's Arlingtons everywhere, I feel like.
There's one in Texas.
Yeah.
There's one now in Mississippi, one in Virginia. Yeah. I'm sure there are many, many others.
Yeah. So that's kind of just an interesting little thing.
It's like people run out of names. So like, I heard this in this state once.
I know. Stacy reached out to Charlotte and asked her what the comment was about. At this point, Charlotte is a 67-year-old living in Horton, Alabama. She told Stacy about the story of Beulah and how the Cawthorn family had sold Linden Hill to the Atkins family in 1935, who were Charlotte's relatives. The home was actually her grandmother's home. Charlotte went on to share why she claimed that Beulah the ghost lived in that home. She herself saw doors open by themselves, chandeliers swaying without the wind, and sounds that had no explanation. One night, Charlotte heard what sounded like boots with spurs on them.
Ooh.
She thought it was a Confederate soldier. When she was about 17, Charlotte's Uncle Billy conducted a seance. She and her two cousins sat on the floor with him. Creepy. Afterwards, she heard all kinds of noises and doors slamming. Months later, in the summer of 1968, she was sleeping when she felt someone grab her arm and she screamed. Her family rushed in and they found a handprint on her arm. I know.
That had to be a stronghold.
Oh, yeah. And it's just so interesting that she left that comment, because if you're trying to sell your family home, like, you probably wouldn't mention that, but maybe she just, I don't know. It's just interesting.
I think in New Orleans, and it might be other places down south, they legit put on their signs for a house that's for sale, not haunted.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is, like, kind of really cool.
Yeah, that is. Maybe she figured, like, I'll put it at 68,000 and they'll have to know something's wrong. But
Yeah, right. They're like, they're seeing the red flag. They know.
Exactly. One relative reported having his covers lifted up by a ghost.
See, that is, I don't know why, but that is what terrifies me so much when people tell
Yeah.
stories of like, my blanket was ripped off of my body, it was pulled down. I was like, I don't like that.
Yeah, it's like such an invasion of your space.
And your blanket's supposed to be your safe space. Like, if there's a
Yeah.
monster, you hide under it and you're safe, but you can't be
Exactly.
safe if it pulls it off of you.
Yeah. Stacy, of course, told her husband about the spooky things that hold on. Another talked of being touched by a ghost, like a different family member.
Yeah.
Some were so spooked that they refused to spend the night. Stacy, of course, told her husband about the spooky things that Charlotte told her about, and he thought the whole thing was ridiculous, and Stacy agreed. So she said that they just laughed their asses off. That's literally her quote. And I'm like, girl, the house was $65,000. You should probably believe them.
Yeah.
But anyways, they couldn't pass up that incredible deal.
I could.
I could too. They thought, quote, we can live with a ghost.
Nope.
Shortly after purchasing the home, Stacy and her mother arrived at Linden Hill to paint and get the house ready. They slept the first night on a huge blow-up mattress, which I can relate. I had a blow-up mattress as like my guest bed for a year. So
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I feel that, Stacy. So in the middle of the night, Stacy's mom said she heard what sounded like 8 men banging around in the back of the house. Then the next night at 2:30 a.m., Stacy heard what sounded like a moan or a cry. It's not what you think. It was like someone they didn't know.
Yeah, like a ghosty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was what the face was for.
okay.
Creepy ghosty noise, Nora.
Stacy said, quote, I thought it's got to be a raccoon or something. Now I'm scared, end quote.
Now you're scared.
I know, right? Stacy says that later on she heard 2 wrought iron chairs dragging on the tile floor and began to smell castor oil. Have you heard of what it means when you smell that?
No.
So, according to Google, which Stacy shared in her quote, she says, it's the smell of evil, end quote.
Oh, because I know sulfur is the smell of demons also. And then I was reading a BuzzFeed article the other day, and it said that if you eat castor oil in like a large amount, it can kill you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it
Isn't that
smells really
interesting?
toxic and gross. So
Yeah.
it might have like something in it.
Might be
I
that
believe
warning,
it.
like, hey, don't eat this.
Yeah. So Stacy said that she talked to her daughter, who recommended she used sage and bless the home, which I again relate to that because when we moved into our home, like we thought
Did you?
the parent. Well, we didn't, but we were going to because we thought the people before us were getting divorced, and that's why they were moving. That's just what we thought at first. Turns out they weren't, but like we were fully ready to sage the house. Like we were like very prepared, and then
I can get behind that.
Yeah. The day came for Stacy and her mom to head to the airport. And beforehand, she decided to write Beulah a note to explain that she was leaving but would be back with her husband. Stacy said, quote, I was worried she would wreck the house, end quote. And I mean, that's great that Stacy was trying to communicate, but I would have probably written a note that said, like, please leave us alone. Like, we'll respect your house. Like, we'll be so nice to you. But I guess Stacy just wanted to be straightforward. So that's fine, Stacy.
I mean, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, when the Humphreys returned to the home later on, all of their wedding photos were crooked. More strange things happened, like the TV came on by itself.
Yeah, we had experience
I know.
with that.
I thought about that one.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
I know.
My friend listens to our podcast, and he was listening at work on YouTube, and he messaged me, he goes, oh my god, the TV part. And I was like, shut up.
Us literally shrieking.
I was like, it was terrifying, but it was so funny.
Stacy said she tried to approach each event scientifically, which, like, same, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
But she said, quote, I know the TV had a remote control and this has never happened before, end quote. So she thought maybe it had something to do with the remote or something. She was just desperately trying to make sense of it.
I get that.
Yeah. So when the lights started turning on and off by themselves, she called an electrician, right?
Oh my god.
it was wire damage for sure, right? These things happen. Wires go bad. They need to be fixed or replaced. Well, the electrician came and said there was no issue with the wiring. Nothing was wrong. And Jimmy, her husband, was so frustrated after the electrician came, he yelled out, if you want the lights on, you can pay the damn electric bill. He just like shouted that in his house. And since Jimmy yelled that, the lights have stopped flickering.
Oh my God, that's actually really funny.
I know. So up until this point, no one had actually seen a ghost in the home. That's until the couple's daughter, Brittany, claimed to have actually seen a ghost. It was nighttime, and she saw a girl about 3 feet tall, dressed in white, running down the halls and knocking a hat onto the floor.
Ew.
Yeah. Brittany was so terrified she left the house.
Ew.
I know. It's unclear if this next thing happened to Stacy or Brittany, but one night while taking a shower, one of them heard water running like outside of the shower and thought maybe the washer had a leak or something was going on with the washer. You know, washers can be a pest.
Yeah.
That could have happened.
They can be a pest.
They're like, they're so trying to make sense of it, and then it just...
Oh, I know. They're trying so hard.
Yeah. So then they pull back the shower curtain, and they saw both of the sink's faucets on full blast.
Ugh.
And then they have like this big pit bull dog named King.
Aw.
Who, yeah, it's cute. I saw a picture.
Oh, of course.
And it normally waits by the shower, which is 25 feet away in the kitchen. Oh, sorry. And then they saw her pit bull King, and the pit bull normally waits by the shower, like while they shower, but this time the dog was 25 feet away in the kitchen. The dog appeared to be staring at someone or something else, and they were like, come on, King, like calling the dog over, and the dog refused to come. The dog was petrified.
See, when Roy stares up at corners, it
I know.
freaks me out.
I know.
Like, he'll be laying on our bed, and all of a sudden, he just stares off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can you please not?
I know. I'm like, come here, stop doing that.
Does Ellie ever do that?
Yes, she does.
Why do they do this?
I don't know. Sometimes I think it's because they're listening really intently.
I
But
don't know.
in this case, this dog was out the room. Like,
Yeah.
He was gone.
He was like, I'm not being in there. Trust your pets.
I know, right? It's so true. Even when it comes to like how they vibe with people.
Yes.
you
Oh,
know?
100%.
Yeah. So one day, Stacy was just at home talking to her husband when a deadbolt lock opened by itself.
And we know those are hard because
Yes.
we interviewed some locksmiths.
Yes, we did. She said that if you could shake the door 5,000 times, it still wouldn't open. Like, it was a very strong lock, but this one day it just did. Another time, she heard a woman's moans, which seemed to be a theme at night at this house. And she said that when she hears these moans, she freezes and her body doesn't move, like freezes of complete fear and terror. But eventually, Stacy's gotten to a place where she can't explain what's going on, but she doesn't freak out anymore. She just lets it go. Because, I mean, there's nothing else you can do.
Maybe, like, not move in the first place.
I know.
But that's just me.
Or, like, sell it, but I feel like everyone in that area knows it's haunted.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Beulah visits became so frequent that the family just agreed to become comfortable with her.
Okay.
They even made some adjustments to make her feel a little more peaceful. This is so
That's actually
crazy.
kind of cute.
Yeah. So for instance, Beulah opens and closes the windows so much that Jim nailed them all shut. That's like kind of a fire hazard, but they were probably desperate.
Yeah.
So they don't answer the door every time they hear a knock. Their dogs will sometimes rush forward only to whimper and cower in a corner.
See, I'd be like, okay, I don't care what you do, but you do not scare my dog.
Exactly. Like, leave my dog alone, Beulah. And so as a result of the knocking, they've removed many of the doors between rooms because of the constant opening and closing and knocking and everything.
Oh my God.
And the family says it's hard to ignore the horrible aroma of castor oil that they'll smell sometimes. So Stacy regularly sages the house and has rosary beads hanging off every door that's still standing.
That's not a way I would want to live.
I know. This is like desperate survival.
Don't like it at all.
I know. Each month, the couple visits the Hillcrest Cemetery and puts a red rose on the grave of Beulah Cawthorn. The story was that Beulah tried to kill her mother and father and injured one of them. So Stacy, like, she later on learned that story.
Mm-hmm.
So she thought, did something to happen to her? Like, was she abused? And then I found a quote from Stacy recalling the ghost encounters, and it legit gave me goosebumps. She said, quote, "I know how crazy it sounds to talk about ghosts because not many people have experienced it, but here you cannot explain everything that happens," end quote. So she tried to use science and reason to justify what's happening but she couldn't because it was Beulah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that gave me chills sometimes.
I have pictures of her too, like
Ooh.
her putting the rose down.
Oh, they're much older
And
than
that's
I
the
thought they were.
house. Yeah.
Oh, the house is pretty.
Yeah. So I'll post those pictures.
Oh.
So that's the story.
Oh, that was good.
So was yours.
Oh, thank you. It's always creepy, like, when we were at your house last time and you looked behind me while I was telling the story. That terrified me. And then I saw it and that scared me too. And so now how I'm sitting, my back door is there and I'll see your hand every now and then move and it just...
You see the reflection?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah, it freaks me out a little bit. So I think that's all we have. So
I think so.
thank you for listening to our Mississippi episode.
Stay scary.
Stay safe.